Hello Fateites and welcome to this episode of GF Predicts. Today we're looking at the fact that Nintendo has been a little bit sneaky and they've been building up Amiibo, building up Virtual Console in the past, all with the intention of putting the two together. Enjoy! So why are Nintendo planning on putting Amiibo and Virtual Console together, and how? Well, what is Virtual Console? Virtual Console is Nintendo's way of profiting from consoles of the past and games of the past, from the NES, SNES eras, N64, maybe even GameCube this time around. But the Nintendo has a problem. They've already sold these things quite a number of times. I mean, the original SNES, you bought the games for it. Then they released the Virtual Console on the Wii, so you rebought those games again. Then they released it on the Wii U, and they had a bit of a problem because kind of people had rebought them. So they ended up charging a little bit extra for extra features such as save functionality or whatever the heck they gave you, and so they could make a little bit more money out of it. But Nintendo have a problem. They can't make any more money out of it. They've kind of given you all the features you need. So they've released their SNES Mini, which to limited sales, but they need another idea. And this other idea is Amiibo. With Amiibo, they might be able to sell all this stuff to you again. Collectors will love this thing. The problem with a Virtual Console is the fact it's virtual. You don't get anything. As a collector, it's a disaster because you have to put it all on a console. And if the console busts and the servers go down at Nintendo because it's ages and ages in the future, you've got nothing. However, Nintendo might be planning on fixing this and thinking, well, let's give you something for that money. Let's physically give you something you can collect. And the thing that they're going to give you is, well, what is it that they will give you? I mean, the problem is with Amiibo is they're quite expensive. I mean, they're £12 in the UK and maybe $15 in the US for those figurines with Amiibo built in. I don't think Nintendo will go down that line. There are way too many games to do individual figurines for, and their profit margins will suffer. They will have to sell them for quite a lot of money. And if you're a collector, well, just the feeling of having to spend £12 on old NES games, it's kind of a little bit scary if you've already bought them before. So they need to look at the profit margin. So what I think is going to happen, well, let's have a look. So you have a Switch. Here is the card with the Amiibo on, bing, and you've got the game, done. But the problem with this is that they're kind of a little bit limited Amiibo. I mean, they're built on NFC technology, which is only a few bytes long. It doesn't have enough storage on it to store even a NES game. So how are they going to fit, what is it, Zelda Ocarina of Time? I used to call it Ocarina of Time, but anyway, Zelda Ocarina of Time, it's going to be impossible to store that on. So let's try that again. Bing, up comes the dreaded download bar, which not will be very much because it's not a very big game. And bing, you've got the game. So what will happen is you'll touch it against the machine, it will download the game for you onto your SD card, and by this time we've all got the SD card. But next time you tap it, it's already downloaded, so it's a kind of shortcut to open the pre-existing game. Bing, already downloaded, already got. Now, if Nintendo were forward thinking, they might think, well, what if you want to sell this? What if you want to give this on? I mean, this is a physical product you might want to give or sell to someone else. So what it might have is a kind of option to unlock this game and say, right, I don't want it anymore. Let someone else use that code. What will be on this then? Well, it's going to be a glorified iTunes voucher. Okay, you remember those things that you scratch off and you've got to type it feels like hundreds of digits, it's probably about 16. It will have the 16 digits on the card. So as soon as you tap it, it's effectively giving the code. It's going to look it up in a database at Nintendo headquarters and download the game if it's not a cloned one. Because they don't want these to be cloned. Because there are fooling NFC readers that you can get, and what will probably happen is if you have like 5 attempts and it hasn't worked, then they'll block you out for a day or a week or whatever, or you need to ring them up to get your account unsuspended or whatever, because if you try and fool it, they are smart to that. I mean, iTunes do it with their gift vouchers, that if you type in too many incorrect digits, then they're kind of not very happy with that and they will kind of ban you. However, that is how it's going to work. So what's it going to look like? I mean, what are these things going to be? Well, I mean, I don't think that they'll have little stands or anything like that. I think they'll go for the credit card approach. And the reason is that, first of all, it's too expensive. Secondly, though, you want to be able to carry these with you. I mean, the game cards are brilliant for carrying with you. What would be more perfect than a credit card size thing to carry with you? Now, Nintendo probably are thinking that, oh, these are going to be quite expensive. I mean, even credit card ones are expensive. However, they've been forward thinking enough to team up with Kellogg's and release a breakfast cereal with Amiibo on the cereal. That is Nintendo testing the water, seeing whether they can get this cheap enough to mass produce. I mean, if Kellogg's can give it away with cereal, that's probably going to cost maybe 10-15 cents or whatever for the Amiibo. I mean, Kellogg's aren't going to want to spend too much money on it. Then they can be mass produced. I mean, that £4 NES game or £5 NES game is probably going to be very, very likely. I mean, the packaging doesn't cost that much. And talking about the packaging, what will the packaging look like? Well, I've got a couple of ideas. I think one of these is more likely than the other. We've got these ones here. Now, these ones were the same design as the Animal Crossing cards that you got, but the problem is collectors don't kind of want that. They kind of look a bit kind of rubbish, and you just take the card off and it kind of looks like an iTunes voucher. It's not very collectible. But you can fit more in a shop. So at your local shop, they could have all of the range of games rather than just a select few. So that's the appeal, and they're a lot cheaper to make. I mean, they're cardboard with the credit card stamped on the back. What could be cheaper? However, they probably are limited because the shielding for the NFC is probably not going to be adequate, although it was for the Animal Crossing, maybe. The way I think they'll do it is through a box, quite a thin box, similar to the 3DS but smaller, and this might have instruction manual or at least a pamphlet of the controls or whatever for collecting purposes, and they can have these for all of the games. I mean, some of the games I thought of were Zelda obviously, but Super Mario Bros on the NES, and you got Mario Kart on the Super Nintendo. You've got all these games. I mean, there are thousands. They've released hundreds of them, but there are thousands of them they could release, and they are so collectible. And this solves their problem. You've bought it on the SNES, you've bought it on the Wii, you've bought it on the Wii U, you've bought yourself a SNES Mini, you've bought these games this amount of times, but you haven't got that case, that beautiful case that will work maybe for the Switch, but maybe for future consoles as well, and maybe for the 3DS. So you've got that thing that makes it worth the money. However, the big question is, how likely is it? I think with the fact that they've dropped so many hints on this thing, I mean, they have already done this before with the Wii U. They have already given you a game, well, game demo, when you tap the Amiibo. That's them thinking, oh, this is something we want. And the fact they haven't released the Virtual Console, they're waiting for something. I mean, none of us are thinking that they're going to release the Virtual Console and then that's going to be the same as the Wii U one. They wouldn't have waited a year to do it. I mean, they were in dire straits with the Wii U, not with 3DS sales. They were fine financially. However, they were thinking, oh, we need this console to work. Why would they hold back the Virtual Console, which is a good console seller? I mean, you buy it, you got all the previous games, you've already got loads of stuff to do on it. Why would they hold it back unless they were making a big decision on it? And I think this is the big decision they were waiting for. Well, what else can it be? The subscription model where you get those NES games free each month and you rent them and all that stuff, that's not A, very exciting, I think, and B, worth waiting a year for. I think this is Nintendo's biggest announcement next year, and I think it's going to be very likely. Not certain, but I think it's going to be very, very likely it's going to happen. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, click like. If you really enjoyed it, click subscribe. Thank you.